Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy stream. Today we're playing Joachim S's Mono Black list. I don't know quite what to call this list because it's kind of a control deck and it's kind of an aggro deck, but as far as being an aggro deck, it's kind of a late game aggro deck. So let me explain. We have both Death Shadow and Scourge of the Skyclaves here, which increase in power as your life total goes down. And we have some things here that cause our own life total to go down, like Dark Confidant and Castle Lockdwain and Snuff Out. And we also have Rotting Regisaur, and that makes us kind of feel like an aggro deck. But then we have like the Thoughtseizes and the Hymns and the Planeswalkers that we might expect from a control deck. So we're kind of somewhere in the middle here between aggro and control, but like we're not a tempo deck, right? So I don't know quite how to classify this one. So we'll call it Mono Black. That's probably going to get 4,000 views on YouTube. Does that sound good? That probably sounds about right and accurate. Everyone on YouTube eats this stuff up. They love the Mono Black decks. So I have some concerns about the deck list. Specifically, I feel like we have so much land. If we count Agadeem's Awakening as a land, which I think is what we're going to use it for most of the time, we have a whopping 23 mana sources. And we don't actually have all that many cards that are good mana sinks. Now, we have the Castle Lockdwain, and activating that is cool and good. Like, that's something we definitely want to be doing. But I am worried that we don't have enough stuff to do with this mana, that, like, I'm going to run out of cards. That's a concern that I have. I don't know how accurate that's going to be, but that was one of the first thoughts I had when I started thinking about what I was going to say during the deck tech. Now, admittedly, like, technically this card has Kicker, so technically we can cast this as a 7-drop, but I don't expect that to happen at all during this league. And we have a lot of, like, 1 and 2 drops, right? Of all the cards that are in our deck, 28 of them cost either 1 or 2. And if we count Snuff Out as being a free spell the vast majority of the time, and Dismember as being a discounted card, that only leaves 6 cards that really are expensive. Reckolete, thank you very much for following. As far as the sideboard goes, we have a lot of traditional mainstays of this sort of deck. I sort of feel like we should maybe have, like, some more things for control, like more Planeswalkers or Bitter Blossoms or Liliana's Last Hope. Ooh, Inverted Ninja, Sign in Blood. Sign in Blood is a great card that could definitely fit into this archetype. That's a really good thought. Now, I don't know how this deck is going to play out. I'm worried about our endgame a little bit. I think we have really good turn 1 and 2s, and like the Death Shadows and Scourge of the Skyclaves can do some cool stuff late game. So like maybe this works out, and maybe we end up having a rock solid mana base, and we always cast our spells versus Delver, and everything's fine. I'm a little concerned. We'll see how it goes. Talking about the lands for just a second. Let's compare this to Death and Taxes for a second. I think I just have kind of a generic-y Death and Taxes list here. And let's move some of these spells out of the way so I can break the lands up into 2 columns here. So in Death and Taxes, your Rishadan Ports and your Wastelands are kind of like spell lands. And the same is also true of Karakas and maybe Silent Clearing as well. And if you look at all the mana sinks that this deck has, it has like 3 pieces of equipment, plus endgame tutors and Flickerwisp to blink them, to go and get more cards, and the Rishadan Ports have activated abilities that are mana sinks as well. And so Death and Taxes usually plays 23 or 24 lands, whereas this one is playing 20 real lands, And then there's the Agadeem's Awakenings, which are sometimes lands and sometimes not lands. So I wonder how our mana is going to feel. At a glance, I feel like we have too much mana, but I've very much been wrong before. Let's hop into games and see how it feels. So, YouTube folks, please consider throwing me a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That sort of stuff is really important for my analytics and helping to get more eyes on this content. Let's battle. Yeah, it's Dark Ritual time. Swamp Dark Ritual Thoughtseize Bob is probably the line that I am taking this turn. If my opponent ends up being a combo deck and I learn that after the Thoughtseize, there's a world where I play Bob instead. But I really want Bob in play on turn 1 if possible. What you got? Wareyuat. Oh. We could be playing on some sort of Grixis control. I think I just like sticking the Bob here. We can him later. It seems like him is going to be good most of the time. And if my opponent takes the him, like whatever, I have a Bob in play. Badlands would be a little weird for Doomsday. They played a Bloodstain Mire that I didn't know about, so I still know their entire hand. I mean, we ended up being a mono black deck, so not forcing the Dark Ritual was fine. Like, if we were a Storm deck and we went Dark Ritual, you know, duress you, take the force, continue to combo off, like, that would be a little backbreaking, but that's not what happened. Decker, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. Another Dark Ritual. Oh, baby. Fine to just play Reggie. Reggie's kind of a scumbag. Except when he just kills my opponent, then he's legit. Let's just play Reggie. Reggie's so much damage. And this Phyrexian Revoker that's in my hand doesn't really do anything. I summon Reggie in attack mode. Speaking of Doomsday, you know what card beats Thassa's Oracle? Hushbringer. Throwing it out there. Just saying. Well, that's not a great brainstorm. Like, my opponent's hand is known to have 2 lands there. Doomsday sometimes has generic answers. Alright, let's resolve the Bob trigger first, I guess. Another Bob. I'm gonna be discarding this Phyrexian Revoker, I think. I am not going to know how to sideboard if my opponent just dies here. Okay, they are control. More Bob. Like, him's good. Bob's good. Swamp's good. All three of these cards are just great. I think I get rid of him. I think Bob is just so strong here. Removal spell would be my best draw. Hmm. It looks like we're playing against some sort of Grixis control list. All right. Second Bob folds real hard to Plague Engineer. But otherwise is just a great play when my opponent is this low. I really just want to, like, limp over the finish line. I think I'm going to play second Bob. If I just wasteland my opponent and then my opponent has a removal spell for my Bob, I don't really end up all that far ahead. Plague Engineer or Toxic Deluge are the worst case scenarios for me, where I just get 2 for 1 or better. My opponent just finds like a Fatal Push and a Lightning Bolt. That's not the end of the world. Oh yeah, okay, Deluge, bad example. Bad example, the Deluge. Alright, let's find a removal spell. Did not find removal spell. I do get the rest of their cards. Got a Ponder and Underground Sea. Okay. They probably don't need red. Blue cast Chase. So I'm taking out one of the blue dual lands. I'm gonna make it Volk. And they only have one red source. No attack, I'll keep my draw engine around. That's very good. Notably, the cards that we discarded to Reggie here are coming back to bite us. Like, we lost card advantage to put that dinosaur in play. And now we're running into the thing that I was worried about at the beginning. Where, like, when we start flooding out, we don't have much that we can do about that. Okay, how does the card work? Return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each have a different converted mana cost X or less. so I can only cast this for X equals 2. So I guess that means I just do Scourge of the Skyclaves. I don't have a 1-drop in there. I don't have a Death Shadow in there. Alright. So I have a 14/14. My opponent has a Death Toucher. Damn it, they drew Lightning Bolt. That's some shit. That's super unfortunate. Okay. Yeah, we don't really have cards for this matchup, right? Like, we don't have Planeswalkers and Bitter Blossoms and stuff of that nature to bring in. I'm going to be pulling Snuff out of the deck. That doesn't take care of the things that I need to take care of. I'll replace that with a Plague Engineer. I can Pithing Needle their Planeswalkers. I have Revokers for that, I guess. Yeah, I do not like my sideboarding plan here. I think Mono Black needs to take advantage well of its sideboard. Like, you need to be able to do powerful things. And I feel like we're missing out on, like, the Ashiok, the Lily Last Hopes, the Bitter Blossoms, the cards of those natures that you just slam, and it's like, oh, damn. K-Command? I think it's K-Command here. I will let my opponent force a will of Bob and make them, like, take that card disadvantage. Okay, they're just gonna let it go. Double basic swamp. Morning, Dukes. Hello, Reggie. Not a haircut, a shave. That was on the to-do list for this afternoon. I think I like second Bob over Thoughtseize. But again, like, same spot as before, where if my opponent has a Plague Engineer, it's just like, oh, damn. But I want more cards. I want more cards very badly right now. I'm missing land drops. I'm also not wearing the headphones tonight. I spent, like, way too much of yesterday recording with the headphones on, and I just need a break from them. Yes, I know that's gone. The Force of Will may or may not be there. I don't think my opponent plays Daze, but I can play around Daze, so I will. Spies, I don't listen to anything while streaming. It takes enough of my brain power to, like, talk, plus look at chat, plus keep track of everything that's going on there. Oh, we got a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Deal, 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 deal. Inverted Ninja, we're still in the same spot as before, where if my opponent gets a Plague Engineer into play, and I, like, get 2 for 1, it's devastating. Five total mana. That's probably Dark Ritual, him, Scourge. Just, like, take out whatever this card is. Alright, that was our own him to Turok. Alright, opponent is Hellbent. I'm in a very good position. They don't have something like a Fatal Push in their graveyard, so Snapcaster doesn't auto get rid of Scourge of the Skyclaves. We have Lightning Bolt. I mean, I'll block. If you Lightning Bolt that, I still have Bob. That's a win for me. Ooh, Toxic Deluge. Alright, see, this is the point of the game where, like, Reggie is fine, right? Like, this Thoughtseize doesn't matter. Alright, removal spell? I can get a 1-drop back. I don't have a 1-drop. Do I trade? Oh, shit, I know I do have a 1-drop. I have a Death Shadow. It's a 1/1? I mean, that's fine. I think I want Reggie dead. Now, the real question is, like, do I just sandbag this and hold this? Because, like, I can get a 1/1 now, or I can get, like, a Scourge of the Skyclaves if I get 1 more mana. I think I wait. It's awkward if my opponent draws a discard spell. Hmm. I think I don't activate. As weird as that is. This card's too good to get rid of. and I don't want to play it as a land here. Very awkward for me. All right. I will take out your cantripping idiot so that I can play my 1/1 idiot. I still think this card's too valuable to just, like, get rid of. We can also theoretically get to 6 and then do some really disgusting things. A goddamn K command. That's rough. They don't know what my card is. They could choose to get something back. No. They've realized what's up. And now my Lily is crap. It's just going to die to a Snapcaster attack and not take out any cards. I mean, this is legit, though. One good top deck deserves another. Like, oh, why did they show me that? Now they're deterministically dead, whereas there was some fear before. Neat. When my opponent concedes, it becomes a 20/20. Oh, MTGO has been lagging terribly for everyone. It is not just you. Most people are having to restart the client after 2 or 3 rounds. The last update was bad. Very bad in that regard. We have Dark Ritual. This hand will work itself out. A Thoughtseize on 1 taking our Dark Ritual would be very bad for us. I would love for my opponent to fetch so that I could just, like, play this. I think I just need to jam a Planeswalker here and hope this gets a Force of Will or Force of Negation so that I trade evenly here. I don't really want to start discarding my own stuff. Like, I'll do it. There have been plenty of updates that have fixed, like, very bad, long time known Magic Online problems. But the last few sets of updates, like, the good things that have been the ban and restricted updates. Like, those were great. Those were handled very well. But as far as, like, the client itself, Magic Online has taken a real beating in the past month or month and a half. Okay. So this is a really cool conversation. If you don't want the turn 1 Lily, why did you go for the Dark Ritual? Because while I don't want to start discarding my own cards, if this resolves, it puts my opponent under a lot of pressure and is quite strong. I would rather take like 2 1-for-1s here. My opponent took the only card in my hand that I care about. I would rather try to take the 2 1-for-1s there, and if like Lily works out, like make my opponent play that sub game when like I have nothing else going on. Like the rest of my hand isn't particularly powerful, and I don't think leading on just Thoughtseize Pass is great. Guess I'll take the Fatal Push since it's more efficient. Yeah, I can't remember any specific errors right now, but I know quite well that some things have been fixed. Do I want to trade with Drown in the Loch this turn? Do I want to try to save this Scourge of the Skyclaves for a bit later? It's a 2-for-1 that's not in my favor. But maybe I just force that card out of my opponent's hand. Ooh, nice. We got the Drown in the Loch for the Dark Ritual. I thought I was going to have to cast another card. DOS, the Drown in the Loch doesn't look good from our side of the table, but what if I went like Duress into Bob or something like that? Then stopping the Dark Ritual there is... no, I guess not. Yeah. There are lines to be thinking about. I don't think it was strictly wrong. I was just surprised. I think I'm just going to eliminate that rather than take a few hits from it and try to make my Death Shadow turn on. I think I'm just going to accept that trade now. The Death Shadow will naturally get bigger over time. I'm not too worried about that. We have like Bobs and Snuff Outs and Dismembers. All right. Human. I'm going to go with human. Like, my opponent didn't play a Baleful Strix on their turn, which is, like, if they had it, they would have done that. Regrejo, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. It's okay. Like, we don't expect Eliminate to be a great card in a vacuum, right? Daggers. Well, glad you can catch some of it live then. Oh, right. This card's stupid on Magic Online. You have to click your life total first. Oh, this is definitely some spice. Yeah, they're on a Grixis control list. This is a sad Death Shadow, but I think I'm running it out there. My opponent doesn't have very many cards. The Scourge of the Skyclave is definitely better than the Death Shadow in this deck list, like, unquestionably. And it's not close. Fucking wrong Plague Engineer name, man. Let's just walk right into that Plague Engineer. I don't want to hold these cards back because of the presence of Thoughtseize and Hymn to Torok and Kolaghan's Command and maybe a Lily. Yep. This game has been incredibly unlucky on my end. Bob is a great top deck. Hopefully I can get some value out of it, but I have a feeling that my opponent either has or can find a removal spell, like they are playing Grixis Control after all. Yep. Opponent also has like 2 Death Touchers, and I don't have creatures with like real evasion here. Oof. I will be keeping this hand. We have turn 2 him into turn 3 him, and then like at some point this game will play a Scourge of the Skyclaves. This isn't a turbo hand, but it will be strong. Especially if our opponent is playing a combo deck that like can't go off on turn 1. Just him followed by him is pretty backbreaking. Das, I thought Bitter Blossom should go in this list. I think that's a great another source of self damage. All right, Days could mess up a lot of my plans here. My hand is now considerably weaker. Like a lot weaker. I don't think I want a Dark Ritual this turn. I think I just want to play another hymn. If we eat soft permission, we eat soft permission. But I have other things that it's more important to use this Dark Ritual to resolve. I'm happy getting a Sprite Dragon. That card is spooky. Look, A very important part of being a streamer is being able to call the worst thing that could possibly happen to you so that, like, you have greater impact on the chat. When you're like, damn, it will be real bad if they had that thing that beats me. Oh my gosh, they had the thing that beats me. Whoa. Alright. 3 mana available, opponent has Brainstorm. Opponent has too much life for me to play Scourge of the Skyclaves right now. Dark Ritual Lily gets got by a Spell Pierce, but plays around Daze. I don't really have a great double spell turn here. I don't know my opponent's colors for sure. I'm going to assume that they're just straight blue-red. I haven't seen very many, like, Grixis Bright Dragon lists. That's just not a thing that tends to happen. If I just play Bob and it gets bolted, this kind of sucks. I also don't know that I want to take another hit from Delver. I think I'm going to cast Dark Ritual. A lot of these blue-red Delver decks right now are on red flex slots rather than blue flex slots. Like, I've been seeing a lot of Chain Lightnings in the flex slots of these decks, and Chain Lightning doesn't stop Lily, whereas, like, a Spell Pierce would. Flex slots? You mean the room for Oko? Yeah, I very much appreciate that Legacy is in a bit of a safer place now. Alright, didn't randomly get blown out by a Stifle there. Oh, it was Grixis. Well, that's dope. Was that like a tattoo art lightning bolt or something? I don't know where that bolt comes from, but I like it. So, my hand is insane. I don't want to discard any cards to Reggie right now. I can play Dark Confidant around Bob, and if my opponent uses their mana trying to answer Bob this turn, that probably means they aren't playing a threat. Wait, hold on. Is there literally a... Okay. Interesting. I think I am supposed to him here. This is just such good value. I can take my opponent to just a Delver. Oh, we got a Plague Engineer. And no Delver flip. I need to deal a little damage with my opponent here. Hmm. I think this is a land. Now that my opponent is in top deck mode, and like I know that this card is resolving, I'm just going to resolve the 7/7, discard Reggie, and then play a Scourge. Or maybe a second Reggie. Like, we'll see where life takes us. Oh man, opponent's last couple of draws here have not been optimal. I think I like second Reggie. Because my life total is unlikely to change the next couple of turns, so that means Scourge will be still smallish. Oh, baby. Reginald would like to know your location. He just wants a hug with his little arms, so he has to get real close to your life total to get the hug. Reginald to the power of 2. Alright, what removal spells do we have? You maybe Plague Engineer. Plague Engineer is good against big fish, Gurmag Angler in particular. It does things versus Sprite Dragon and Delver at the beginning, but not later on. So, like, for sure, the Phyrexian Revokers are coming out. Yeah, if my opponent's playing Young Pyromancer, the Plague Engineer is also good. Like, let's pull this in here, because, like, I'm definitely thinking about it. I'm thinking about removing Thoughtseize, him, and Dark Confidant in some numbers. Snuff Out's still a removal spell, right? So, like, if my opponent has a Delver, I will pay 4 life to get rid of a Delver, because that Delver is pretty likely to do, like, 6 to me, right? The thing about Bob is that, like, Bob draws Lightning Bolts, and then Lightning Bolts don't go to my face and get me dead. Bob draws Fatal Push, then it's harder to answer Rotting Regisaur. I think I'm gonna do this. Dark Lightning Rod. Yeah, you see, their Lightning Bolt already has a skull on it. Like, they know what's up. This is a hand with 2 basic lands, 2 removal spells, and then 2 high impact 2-drops, and then, like, Reggie that can hang out at the end of the game. I'm very glad my opponent didn't lead on Delver. Them's fighting words, Kendra. Oh no, sorry, Kenda. But how's that for you? How's that? We did the other Bob in the thumbnail, because that Bob made for a good thumbnail. Yo, we're, like, not getting attacked by creatures. We're getting time to set up. No, not strictly better. almost always better. But there are a couple of like this got real weird scenarios where you want to have the OG one. I want counter spells out of my opponent's hand. Uh, Mega Man, it's if you need to kill your own creature with an edict. It's like those sorts of scenarios. Like it's weird. Ooh, you're telling me my Hymn to Turok resolves. This is the most important card here. Painful Truths, probably. Oh, I don't have a Hymn to Turok. Cast that last turn. Um, shit, that's awkward. Do I lean into the misplay? I just give them Bob for Lightning Bolt? Or let them play Plague Engineer and get rid of Bob? No, I don't think so. I should have just played that land tapped, though. Genie, yeah, we'll go with that. I'm super happy that we got that Lightning Bolt there. Like, I was just hoping to get the Plague Engineer into play and then, like, take that off the table. You're a Delver deck! You're a Delver deck! The fuck? Like, that's obviously very good here, but such avarice. That's fine. I still get my 2-for-1 here. Like, I still have more cards than my opponent, despite the fact that they just cast a Painful Truths. Yeah, I can take hits from this to just ensure that my stuff works. I have 2 different removal spells that kill it. Alright, we got Plague Engineer and Dismember. Card feels like a counterspell. It'll land. That's fine. Don't Snapcaster Mage me for doing this. Good. Okay, good. They didn't have a second Mystic Sanctuary. Oh god, yeah, if they dazed and returned that Mystic Sanctuary, that would have been so strong. I'm glad they missed that. I mean, I've played against a couple of Stoneblade decks, and they felt like reasonable Magic decks. I don't know that Stoneblade is better than other things that you can be doing in blue, though. Alright, yeah, there's Snapcaster Mage. What a greed pile. Like, the worst thing here is that, like, my opponent is playing this greed pile, and I still just have more cards than them. Maybe I Edict them. The Edict can become bad later if my opponent is playing, like, Young Pyromancer or something. I am fine removing either one of these cards. Yeah, I mean, the Wasteland hurt, but, like, I'm still sitting on a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. I know my opponent has Force of Will. I think I'm going to play a 2-drop this turn. With the hopes being that I can cast both Eliminate and Death's Shadow next turn after top decking a land. Now my opponent still has Force of Will available. This was rough. And Young Pyromancer too. Alright, I mean, we just lost this one to not drawing a 4th land in a lot of cards. That's okay. I think my opponent's deck is bad. I do not like these sorts of decks. Like, they are a bad Delver deck in that they're not going to as consistently produce pressure, and they're a bad control deck in that they have things like Delver and Daze that aren't really all that effective. Like, this is turn 14. And, like, despite the fact that my opponent cast, I think, 4 Painful Truths or something like that, I don't think they would have won this game if I drew another land or two. I just conceptually would not like to be on a deck like my opponent's deck. On the play, I want the Thoughtseizes to punch a hole in what my opponent's doing, and I think I don't want the Edicts quite as much anymore. Like, I saw Young Pyromancer and Baleful Strix, which makes this worse. Stand's not great, but I'm going to keep it. If they just cantrip on turn 1, which they're going to do a lot of the time because they don't have as many threats as a traditional Delver deck, I just wasteland them and reset the clock. And then that cycle is going to repeat. Hopefully I wasteland them twice and then, like, stick a Bob, do a bunch of damage to myself, Bob gets removed, then Death Shadow is live, and Bob's your uncle. I have played a little bit of Magic in my day. So now we're just hoping for the same thing to happen again. We just want our opponent to cast, like, another Ponder or Brainstorm or something. I'd probably wasteland them if they play a Delver still. Probably playing Bob on my turn. Yeah, definitely playing Bob on my turn. I don't care if things get dazed right now, because, like, this is very good to resolve. And now if my opponent answers Bob, unless they draw Delver again, they can't play another threat this turn. I do not want my opponent to cast a Daze and return that volcanic island. I want that destroyed no matter what. If my opponent dazes this Eliminate here, the Daze is out of their hand, and I have a lot of good things coming later. I'm absolutely not eliminating before the Wasteland there. Absolutely not. I want this Bob sticking around, and that means getting rid of that second volcanic island. Like, my opponent has shown me some basic lands and things like Mystic Sanctuary. So I know that they have a bunch of lands in their deck that are not going to cast removal spells. Nice. I'll play this one nice and patiently here. We got K Command and Delver of Secrets. Very nice. I have played my land this turn, right? Pretty sure I have. I've wastelanded twice. This is turn 5, yeah. Yeah, Moist, I think you will see some amount of Miracles or Miracles-esque decks, but I think the big question there is, like, is it better to be blue-white or not? And not, like, Bant? And I think with the list that I'm seeing right now, it looks better to be Bant. Do sneaky damage. See if they want to trade for Pyro. I would not make investment decisions this close to a banned and restricted update, you know? I wait a little while, see how it shakes out. Um I like Thoughtseize. Let's start there. Like, Thoughtseize is just a pump spell in disguise. We'll take the more castable card here. They can keep Bedlam Reveler. I think I want to hold back Bob. Don't want my opponent to have attacks in. think more or less at this point, the only way I lose is to Bob killing me. I think I just need another big. Lily just takes out a token at this point. That's not exactly insane. And the Lily Plus just gets rid of a Bedlam Reveler, which has no text. Is this lethal? Assume this is lethal. Okay, so I attack in with 3 things that have 7. I don't need to make myself lose life here. Nice. YOLO? I will be keeping this hand. Yeah, get your deck on stream. Although that's outdated. The price is currently $30, not $20, but the info is otherwise good. It takes you to a link that has all of the correct information. No. Okay, my hand is very bad now. But I couldn't resist, like, turn 1 Lily on the play. Yeah, it wasn't true for a little while, but generally speaking, in Legacy, you'll be good later. You really get a chance to showcase your format knowledge and play skill really well, and those decisions matter so much. That wasn't really true in the previous metagame, where it was like, haha, Dreadhorde turn 2 go brrrr. Ooh? So... Oh. Oh. Oh no. Yeah, the turn 1 Lily, definitely correct against this deck. Fuck! I love Dark Ritual, but not that much. So it's a 0-0 right now. I did not consider kicking it to lower my own life total to make it easier to kill myself, but maybe that was a misplay. Could have done that. Excuse me. While I concede. Alright. I'm happy Sneak and Show is doing well again, though, in, like, complete and total honesty. Like, That deck being totally pushed out of the format is a little ridiculous. That deck is hella good. Alright. Eliminate sucks. Snuff out sucks. Dismember sucks. I'll board out one swamp since I'm boarding in one Caracas. Maybe I trim these? My opponent's not going to be doing very much to my life total. Or once they've done damage to my life total, it's too late. That's maybe a little bit more accurate. No, we don't need to go that deep, Zotmaster. Like, we have a lot of interaction. Snuff out doesn't kill black creatures, I believe, which is why I boarded it out. Is it bad? Is this hand bad? Just kills my opponent on turn 4. Like, I play Regisaur. They fetch. They're not going to expect Wasteland. I Wasteland them. I laugh in Dinosaur. I think Liliana's Triumph is actually the worst card here, even though I can't cast him to Turok. Like, Liliana's Triumph is like the oh shit button. Like, things went wrong. We're trying to stop the nuclear reactor from melting down. Like, that's what that edict is. It's not plan A or B or C. My opponent mulliganed to 5. Man, we totally would have been fine to just jam Reggies this game. Never didn't have it. Alright, so my opponent has one unknown card. We'll get it next turn. My opponent has found something to do. Now, will they leave the card that they want on top? Like a good blue combo player. Oh ho. Oh ho 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 ho. Alright. We can win with a potato. We just need to find a potato. Not a potato. It's Moto. Magic Online has been lagging a lot after the last update. I'll do a restart after this round. I'm now restarting every 3 rounds while I'm playing or recording. Yeah, so, like, this is match 3 that I've played, right? And in match 3, it's very noticeable that the lag is starting to happen. We're starting to get to the point where I need to respect sneak attack, so I'm gonna lay out the Caracas. It also plays around Spell Pierce if that happens to be in my opponent's flex slots. I don't really expect Spell Pierce currently, but, like, throwing it out there. Got an Abrade. I guess I have a couple of Pithing Needles. There are technically targets for that. Yep. Awkward. So I think we do it like this. Take more damage than I need to here. Do I want to play Bob? I think I just want to be able to Liliana Ultimate, honestly. Like, Death Shadow plus this castle can be a fast enough clock that I don't need Bob. The Lily ult offers me something kind of unique. Hurt myself again? It's a weird pump spell. I guess I wasteland that. Probably end up wastelanding that. Or we do that. That seems fine. Haven't mathed that out, but I assume that's lethal next turn. Hit my opponent for 13. The Scourge gets +5. Emrakul doesn't do it. Emrakul does nothing on this board. They put in Emrakul, I bounce it with Caracas, they can't put it in a second time. Grizzlebrand maybe gives them a shot. I have an exceptionally awkward opening hand in that I have black mana, but not black mana on turn 1. I have a turn 1 play of Pithing Needle, which is respectable, but not insane. I am not sure if this hand is good enough. If I could just play Bob on turn 2, this hand is good enough. But Like, I have a lot of hands that have discard that are just safer than this. I'm gonna go ahead and mulligan. Yeah, this hand's great. I believe I will be playing Lily of the Veil on turn 1 so that I can still him on turn 2. There are a lot of situations where him on turn 1 is just better, but in the scenarios where they don't just have it all already, it is much better to play this now and start grinding advantage with it. But if they just have like Soul Land, Show and Tell, Idiot, Omni, all already, like, whatever. Oh no. Hello? Oh, I'm punished for scrying the edict to the bottom here, and I lose. GG. I don't regret that scry, and I would do it that way every single time. Every single time. I'm okay with that. Because imagine this was Grizzlebrand instead, right? My edict, like, basically does nothing. Like, I'm okay with that. My opponent had Island, Ancient Tomb, Force of Will, Blue Card, Show and Tell, and Emrakul. 6 very specific cards that are required in order to do that sequence there. Like, I am good with losing to a hand that requires 6 very specific cards. That's okay. Okay, I am on the draw this time. I have kind of a late game hand in many ways. Like, the Scourge isn't good early. I can't ramp out Reggie. This is, like, probably going to be an awkward land that can be wastelanded. I'm just going to mulligan this one. This is okay. Oops. Switch scenes. It's okay. The YouTube folks will never know what happened. Except for those comments on screen. I don't know which card I'm supposed to throw back here. I think I need to keep all 3 of my lands and plan to cast the Lily. And so it's a question of, like, do I want Thoughtseize or do I want Eliminate? So it's the question of, like, do I want diversity or do I want the ultimate attack your hand plan of, like, Thoughtseize into Lily? I think I'm going to value diversity here. I don't want to have to immediately, like, minus the Lily if my opponent plays a creature. Alright, the Thoughtseize would have been better in all likelihood versus this deck. We were probably playing against some Bant Uro pile. Yeah, there's Uro. Entomb. Entomb? Yeah, I'm guessing that's just Entomb for Uro. I don't know what level of spice beyond that is there. I'm going to take Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay answers my Planeswalker, which is currently the big way that I have to win. I lose out on information here. I feel pretty confident that the Entomb probably goes away here since my opponent already has an Uro. Although they could throw back the Uro and Entomb for it. Hmm. Yeah, Uro is replacing Astrolabe. Just think of it that way. It's kind of actually just that simple. Agadeem's Awakening, is it being played tapped here? I think so. I think I'm going to want to be activating Castle Lockdwains this game. This means that I don't hold up Eliminate for my opponent's turn cycle, but I think their turn cycle is going to be play Uro. So I think I'm fine with that. This is not great versus board. I'm still playing it. Alright, that was good enough to get the force. Opponent struggling to hit land drops here. Soon. Soon. As soon as next turn, actually. Oh boy. Shit. World Gorger Dragon. Alright. So I just eliminate Baleful Strix in response to that. All others? All others you control. Oh no, they still have Abundant Growth though. Shit. Alright, well, how are you killing me? I need that information. Oh, hold on. Oh, they still control the Abundant Growth even though it goes on my lands? That's unfortunate. That makes sense. Alright, YouTube folks, I'm gonna pause this here until they do anything interesting, because this might take a little while. Alright, YouTube folks, I'm back. So, my opponent entombed for a Grizzlebrand, which they put into play via Animate Dead, and that broke their World Gorger Dragon loop. So, now they have a Grizzlebrand, a Baleful Strix, and an Eternal Weakness, Eternal Witness, which is probably good enough to beat us because they play around Edicts. They'll get an Uro as well. But If they just pass the turn here, that means that they don't just have an infinite combo or something, or they're like tired of clicking through it. So we didn't gain information about like, do they have an infinite that just actually ends the game on the spot? But if you take a look at the clock, they've lost a couple of minutes in going and doing their thing. We're also going to get a look at a whole bunch of their cards because they're just going to discard a bunch of the stuff that they drew. Oh, lands. They drew a lot of lands. 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I can play a Revoker, revoke Grizzlebrand. I am close enough to dead here where I'm just going to go ahead and concede. All right. um, so, how far down the combo route is my opponent going to stay? Are they just going to board into a control deck? Like, do I want to be answering the Baleful Strixes? Do I want to be answering the Uros? Do I want to be answering the combo? I think for sure I'm bringing in Surgical Extraction. I think for sure I'm going to board out a Snuff Out. Both of them, really. Like, my opponent's creatures are often going to be black. This does answer Uro. But, like, Eliminate and Dismember also answer Uro. Revokers may be medium. Like, I can shut off a Grizzlebrand or something, but like, this body is not going to line up well versus a lot of things that my opponent can have. Alright, yeah, alright, Dismember doesn't answer Uro. 6/6. Um, I don't know that I actually want to go Leyline Deep. Like, I don't know that I want that card disadvantage. Yeah, we'll keep one Snuff Out. Do this too. Yeep. No, I don't really think I want Leylines. I think I want to be able to surgical very specific things, and taking out those things matters a lot. Honestly, I'll take the Thoughtseize. I would like to resolve my Hymn to Turok. Take one of my opponent's Animate Deads. I can consider surgicaling Animate Dead after that. I don't know that I'm going to need to take Animate Dead, but it's an option that will be available to me. Alright, we're not going to surgical Animate Dead now. We got them both. Not really a nice hymn. I wanted to grab the Baleful Strix so I didn't have to Lily minus. I could just Lily plus here. My Death Shadow isn't particularly great right now. It's Surgical for life, and that gets it closer to being good. I will still Edict. The best thing about the plus is that it sets me up for better surgical turns. Like, that's really what that does. Oh, I don't mind all this. Weird Pump Spell? I think Weird Pump Spell. Like, the Death Shadow is good. I don't necessarily want to throw it away quite yet. Like, this turns it on. And then I can play Reggie after I have surgicaled something. There's nothing here that I want to surgical currently. That is how it works, huh? It's really unfortunate. Like, we played patiently with the surgical, trying to wait for an Uro. Did not get rewarded for that. Alright. I don't super care about the Uro. I can be much bigger than it. And they probably have access to green next turn. Like green, blue, even if I wasteland a green source. So I think I'm going to go ahead and deploy Reggie here. So the big question is going to be like, what am I doing with my Castle Locktwain activation on my turn? So, like, I could hurt myself for more right now, but I think I'm just gonna discard a swamp and see what happens during my turn. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't... I could specifically play around like a 2-mana counter spell or an abrupt decay or something by like doing this post combat, but I think it's just so good pre-combat. I will wasteland them though. Like I'll make them pick what color and mana they want. Is apparently a rather difficult decision. That's a tilt. All right, if I attack with both of these, I hit my opponent for 13, put them to 3. If they don't block, but they would probably block Rotting Regisaur. They block Rotting Regisaur, I can hit them for 6. 7 if I draw a card with Castle Locthwain, but I don't know if that's correct. What do they pitch with Force of Will? Not that. Brainstorm. Really awkward since I can just bring it back. I think I'm good crashing in. But it's weird. I mean, that's the block I want you to make. Because I grow Death Shadow and you get destroyed. I am going to assume that drawing cards will allow me to do something meaningful over the course of 2 to 3 turns to beat that Uro. That 1 life point difference from 6 to 7 though is a really big deal. But my opponent has to chump block with the Uro next turn if... Or no, I guess they don't. They gain the life. Alright. So I can attack for what is really 9, and my opponent won't block. And then I can play Reggie. Do I activate Castle Locthwain first? I probably do, because if I find an answer to Uro, it's just so strong. Two life versus 1 life. Probably 2 life. Well, that's very good. I guess I cast this first. Alright, it's in Fate's hand. If my opponent draws an answer to the Skyclave, I lose. So it can be probably like a Fatal Push and Abrupt Decay. And you can bring it back, you go to 7. Then I have, I believe, 2 different lethal threats in play through Uro. See how it goes. Do I want to draw? I think I want to draw. Just having a removal spell is so good. It just eliminates a lot of the things that could, like, accidentally, oops, get there. Maybe I don't, though. It's probably fine to just do it. So this activates a castle, and then I have 5 remaining mana. I can just play Reggie before activating it. Then I specifically can't play 3 drops. There's not that many cards in this list. Like these lilies. Worth 1 life to be able to play Lily. I draw it. That's very good. I get to play both post-combat. We are riding the lightning here. Alright, like, why did we sit there for a minute if you were just dead on board and you knew you were dead on board? Like, okay. No, not bringing in ley lines. I don't think they're good. Like, my opponent's deck is a control deck some portion of the time, and leyline is quite bad against that. Like I brought in 3 Surgical and 1 Caracas to help deal with Uro. And I have a fair bit of interaction for the combo portion of the deck. Yeah, but like, what is Leyline better than? Like, a late game Leyline of the Void is very bad, whereas a late game like Snuff Out or Regisaur or Dismember might be the difference between winning and losing. Like, I wouldn't mulligan to a Leyline, right? That's not something that I do. And if that's not something that I do, I don't want to do, like, why would I bring it in? The black disenchant thing, Gate to Phyrexia, that shows up in some of the uh, mono black decks I've played, but generally speaking, I don't think it's particularly strong. There's also the like lose life creature one that hits enchantments only. I think I'm gonna mulligan this one. That just doesn't have consistent mana. Oh god, this hand's really bad. Really bad. Like it has no plan. These 2 cards are dead currently. I can't get to Reggie mana. Surgical's not good without discard to put something into the graveyard. I need to go to 5. I will be keeping this. One of Reggie and Lily here. I don't know which one. Probably Reggie. If things go my way, I'm going to draw a bunch of cards. And at least with Liliana, I have the option whether or not I discard. Whereas Reggie forces that. See if they discard Uro. They discarded Force of Will, so they have no blue card to pair with it? Or they just have like an Assassin's Trophy or something that's going to answer this? This is a touch awkward. Alright. My opponent has 2 lands left. plus. Or just minus and take double sinkhole. Can't get Bob into play yet, which is awkward. Hmm. On a plus. I'm going to get rid of the surgical extraction and accept that I lose if my opponent draws one of their 2-ish animate deads in this next turn cycle. My Lily here isn't enough for me to win the game, because my opponent can just top deck some really strong things. I guess, like, thinking about Veil of Summer, I just thought Seize first. Oh, I don't get to see what the Abundant Growth was on anymore? Okay. That's awkward. Yeah, and I literally can't see in chat. Chat, what was Abundant Growth on? No Covered Forest? Oh, Forest does still have the ability. Good call. Alright, so we'll make sure we split those. Do something like that. I could sit there and really think about that, but I'm down a lot of clock. Okay, Animate Dead targets Eternal Witness. You get something back, but I'll just make you discard it. I guess that's a really good line. Alright, opponent got a lot of mana back. Yeah, that's fine. So this grows my Scourge into range where it blocks the Eternal Witness well. So now we just need to dodge the second Animate Dead being drawn, which we have done successfully. I think I'm just getting that creature out of the way. Lily has done its job at this point. I'm at 14, but 2 Bobs should make my Death Shadow live next turn. My opponent could have held that land for a Brainstorm. And, alright, yeah, they're just dead. Good stuff. So, like, I was very concerned about the combo portion, but just imagine if my opponent was a more focused deck. Like, I don't know that the upside of playing World Gorger Dragon is worth the downside of, like, having a bunch of things that are awkward when you're on one side of the plan versus the other. Like, I don't know that I beat a dedicated control deck that was better at answering my resolved planeswalkers with more copies of Abrupt Decays. Or I don't know that I beat a dedicated control deck, because, like, we saw against Show and Tell, like, my discard wasn't enough. They were able to power through. Whereas this deck falls somewhere in the middle and it's not overly focused in either direction, and that leaves them in a weird middle ground. We're gonna keep this hand. We have 5 mana on turn 1. That's a Dark Confidant plus Reggie. That is strong. Goblin Welder. I am not worried about that. I was worried about a Chalice for one. Ooh. I don't think I him the Goblin Welder player here. I think I'm just gonna not risk that. And we'll just put 9 power in play on turn 1. I can think about hemming my opponent next turn. For what is presumably going to be a mono black deck, they probably can't get a 7/6 out of play without multiple cards. Like Painter Servant plus a Pyroblast could do it, for example, but that might cost them 3 with the Lotus Petal too. All right. Am I supposed to hem? Now my opponent can loop in Painter Servant for Lotus Petal. Now I think I will hem them. Can get a little awkward, though. Okay, if you had the Pyro Blast for Bob, why didn't you take advantage of that on your turn before Bob gave me a card? Yeah, I do not understand that. Like, Bob is very spooky. Nope, I do 1 league per stream. Keep myself from getting all tired out. There's some world where I'm going to cast a Thoughtseize and then it's not going to do anything because my opponent has a land in hand that they didn't want to play due to City of Traders. Yep. That's fine. There's a lot of scenarios where I actually want to hurt myself here because, like, I just bend Scourge of the Skyclaves because my own life total is too high. Bomat Courier is pretty annoying because it's recurable. Man, welcome. I can just hold this back and then Bomat Courier can't attack, but I'm just going to crash in. I probably get 7 points of damage this turn. Or I get a Lotus Petal from my opponent, effectively, because they go, like, Painter, Block. Yeah, alright. I got my 7. Attack me with more things. I need my life total a little lower. I'm gonna discard this. We activated the castle last turn, too. This isn't bad. We activated the castle last turn to work on our life total. We're trying to get it below 13. Alright, they got rid of the Painter. That means that I can actually attack him this turn. As long as I'm okay with losing the Lily, which I am. I'm pretty sure this turn my opponent just, like, welds out the Bomat Courier. Oh, no. Thought they were gonna weld out the Bomat Courier. Like, I don't know that they can draw 3 off of that anymore. Ooh, Goblin Engineer is good. That beats me a fair portion of the time, because my opponent can put Painter into play this turn, Grindstone into play next turn. Or actually, other way around, Grindstone into play this turn, Painter next turn. I need a piece of interaction. Got rid of their artifact? Okay, they're rewarded, but that seemed risky. Now they'll just chump block with Goblin Engineer. Yep. I'll be activating Castle Locked on my turn. Or on their turn. So this is 3 to activate. They need a land. I died to a land. Unless I draw Snuff out. Sundering Titan. Alright. This is not good. So this is 10 toughness. I can't really attack in here. Playing my Death Shadow is not really good for me. Actually, is the Sundering Titan in play good for me? It blows up one of my opponent's lands. And then they hit me for 8? And then my Death Shadow is huge? No, it's probably not good for me. I just need, like, a removal spell. Like... Okay. Life is spooky again. Stop. Stop having chump blocking creatures. That makes my life so much harder. That's really unfortunate. That, I think, just beats me. That's Painter and Grindstone in the same turn cycle. And I don't think there's anything I can do about that. Unless... I guess I should have Lily plussed before doing that. Didn't actually think I had an out, but I did. I'm gonna try to kill a Goblin Welder here. 3 Goblin Welders is a problem. 2 Goblin Welders is just very bad. But I think my opponent just chump blocks with 1 Goblin Welder. I think. Shit. Would I float the mana now? Because they're gonna destroy my untapped swamp? Yeah, I guess I do. That's really awkward. Also blows up one of their lands. Alright, this is awkward, because, like, my opponent gets to see this coming. Oh, that just leaves me dead. If I do that. Yep, alright. Then they just, like, chump block with this, and then they just attack me and kill me. They don't even have to combo off. Okay. That's fine. Like, my Dismember, if I just sit back, buys me 1 turn, but I don't think it actually wins me the game. So if I Dismember Sundering Titan, it doesn't kill Sundering Titan, it just shrinks it. So they block with a Goblin Welder, they take no damage, and then they have 9. Oh shit, they don't have 9 they don't have lethal on the backswing. Oh, they had lethal on the backswing. But I think I'm dead here. A number of different ways. Like, that one had slipped out of my control. We're 2-2, Julian, but we're down a game versus Painter. Like, the mono black deck doesn't interact well versus artifacts. To the surprise of no one. I thought we were going to get that one. We couldn't quite get there. The Null Rod's great. The Pithing Needles are good. The removal spells are all awkward. Guess I want Plague Engineer for Goblin. That does a surprising amount of work. I'll play Dismember. I don't know. Like, the Graveyard Hate does stuff. Gabriel Day, thank you very much for following. The recursion engine is going to give me trouble. I think I try to surgically extract one portion of the painter combo. MTG Knight, thank you very much for following as well. This is a lot of cards to board in, though. My opponent's not attacking me that much. I am probably going to trim some of that. My game plan is make them discard a piece of painter, surgically extract it. This seems slow. I gotta go down on more Death Shadows. Oh shit, I ran out of sideboarding time? Okay. Well. Alright. That's bad. So is this hand. So is this hand. We haven't had anything resembling a keepable hand yet. I can keep this as a 4-card hand and just, like, pray to every MTG god that I draw a land on turn 2. But let's go deeper. Yeah, this is fine. This goes back. This goes back. And this goes back. This is easily the best hand so far. Not close. My opponent has the sideboard lightning bolts. They have the sideboard lightning bolts. Otherwise, maybe this gets us out. I legitimately don't know where that 3 minutes of sideboarding went, though. Like, we have to blow up that Ancient Tomb, or bad things happen if my opponent top decks a painter. Hello? The next turn, I can play the Agadeem's Awakening, deal 3 damage to myself. Hopefully Bob deals me a little bit of damage. I can put the Death Shadow into play. Yeah. Yeah, this is good. Well, basically my opponent's Bomat Courier is really important right now. I have a burn league from maybe a month or two ago up on YouTube. Messing around with Roiling Vortex as a way of helping to deal with Uro Oko. Nice, nice. I will absolutely trade Bob for Bomat Courier right now. Absolutely. I think more likely what happens is my opponent blocks Death Shadow and then sacrifices Bomat Courier to save themselves 4 life. I am going to die to Bomat Courier, attack, activate, find Painter, crack LED for Grindstone. My opponent can play an Ancient Tomb or City of Traders pre-combat to make that sequence more likely to actually happen. Yep. Goblin Engineer finds Painter Servant. That's fair. One red to return. I can't get rid of their mountain. I can get rid of their city. Hmm. Can't make myself lose more life here. And I need to lose 1 life. Make my opponent's choices incredibly awkward. As is, they just chump with Bomat Courier. And they take 7. And then I die. So now I need to bluff removal spell because my opponent has the win on board. Their 2 cards in hand don't matter. They just have activate, swap a grindstone for a painter's servant, crack LED, go. Unfortunately, I probably put my opponent into a situation where they have to call my bluff. So I don't think this works. Like, I think this bluff doesn't do anything because my opponent has so few outs to what's happening here that they just have to go for it. Oh, but they might wait. Okay, they're waiting. I can get another draw step to disrupt this. They should do it in response to this Bob trigger. Okay, so they activated first, so that is on the stack. Now, Painter comes in, names a color, and I die. Alright. That's fine. We went 2-3 with the old mono black deck. We'll take that. I don't like some things about this deck list. I don't like the main deck Phyrexian Revokers. It's off plan, and it doesn't feel cohesive with everything else that's there. I want to cut those for something else that is just on theme and on plan. So that's thing number 1. Thing number 2, there's basically no ability to grind in the sideboard, and I dislike that. There's no Bitter Blossoms here. There's no bonus Planeswalkers here. I need something like that so that I can improve versus control decks, because that's something that I did not do this league. And I think that's a big deal. I think 7 graveyard hate cards is way too many. Like, pick a lane and stay in it, but devoting 7 slots to graveyard, I don't think makes a lot of sense. Like, I played against decks that were using the graveyard, and I didn't board in all of those. I think the surgicals are better than the ley lines for what it's worth. But I think if we trim some of those, we can get, like, maybe a Lily Last Hope, a pair of Bitter Blossoms in the sideboard or something like that. I want more copies of Plague Engineer in this deck, because that card is, like, one of the stupid byproducts of Fire Design, and if you're in black, you should probably be playing 2, 3, 4 question mark of them in your 75. I don't know how much sense the Caracas actually makes. Like, we brought it in a couple of times. It was fine. It did things. But I don't know if a non-tutorable land makes sense as a flex slot. All right, MTG Knight. I'm going to answer your question because you asked it twice. What do you think about the lifelink creature? Hold on. Got it? Like, we don't want the lifelink creature. We're trying to hurt ourselves repeatedly over the course of this league. I was like activating Castle Locthwain for more than I needed to, so that I could go and hurt myself to enable my cards. We can't be playing the lifelinkers. That doesn't work. All right. I'm gonna say something I say most of the time when I play with Rotting Regisaur. I don't think this card is particularly good. When we were playing versus, I think it was Grixis control, the downside of throwing away a card over 2 or 3 turns when I played this in the early game was very, very noticeable. So I don't know that I love that card. This is an interesting idea, and it's quite different from most of the other mono black decks that I've tried out in the past, which is saying something because I've tried a lot of these decks. I think Scourge of the Skyclaves was very good here. I really liked that as a finisher. Death Shadow was certainly less good and more awkward, but like it did some work over the course of the league. All right, so for you mono black enthusiasts out there, I hope I've given you some things to be thinking about. For the YouTube folks, if you've made it this far, please like, comment on the video. That sort of thing helps me out a lot, helps these videos make some money, and helps get more eyes on some sweet legacy content. And if you're really enjoying my content and you want to see one of your own decks on YouTube or on stream, the information is always in the video description as well as this deck list. Have a great rest of the day, YouTube folks.